a second? Moore seconds it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimous. Approval of the minutes for October 9th. We had a few typo corrections. That's all. They've been taken care of. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Board moves to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
Seconded by Ellen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. Financial report. We have got some updates on our financial situation. Tanner's done a report here. Tanner, I give the floor to you.
Ready? Let's see here. Note, I think I gave away all of my copies.
Yes.
Thanks. That's all right. Sure. Okay, since our last meeting, I've had a chance to meet with Mike Farina and reconcile some of the numbers. Today's finance report reflects just a few changes from the last one presented at our last regular meeting. If you look in the 2018 projected column, year-end, these are year-end projected numbers. I added 2,000 more in contract professional services, attorney, just to be on the safe side, knowing we may have an amendment with the Microtel agreement and whatnot. So we did incur, moving down to the very next line, IT expense, we did incur $342 in IT expense, which is within our $500 budget, but more than I had previously projected, which was zero. This expense is 3 years worth of web hosting and email server account fees that had been paid by Noel Sawyer. Our email quota recently reached its limits, and our email stopped working briefly. I contacted .easy.com and upgraded the service level to the next level, which gives us unlimited storage. The upgrade increased our annual service fee by about $60 per year for a total of now $167 per year. When making the change is when I discovered Noel's credit card was still on file and had been charged a total of $342 since 2016. I spoke with Noel about it. He didn't mind at all, but we agreed he should be reimbursed. Yeah, and that's what the $342 expense reflects. Moving further down to TIF reimbursements, that number has changed. It's increased by about $22,000 for this year, but that is only because of some expense moved from 2017. So there's no net effect on fund balance. It has to do with accounting for a TIF refund from 2017, and moving that money from one year to the other is consistent with Mike Farina's records. That's what he's showing, and so really just an accounting detail. Cost of debt issuance, so moving a little further down the list, is cost of debt issuance is $10,000 less than previously budgeted. Same for judgment expense. I do not yet have any confirmation from the court as to the final judgment amount, so for now I'm budgeting what I think is our worst case scenario at $155,015. That's it for 2018. Moving to the 2019 budget. The only changes from the last presentation: county treasurer fees increase of $46. That's just 3% of revenues, so there was a rounding issue. New bond debt service increased by $5,093. That is based on the amortization schedule provided by Vectra Bank. It is accurate. And all of that leaves us with a $54,423.60 projected fund balance at the end of this year, and $31,318.36 at the end of next year. 2019 will be a bit tight, but less so than many years past. Going forward, with the added revenues from Microtel and Natural Grocers, our budget grows stronger very quickly. We're in excellent shape. Are there any questions?
thank you for getting with Mike and getting this up to date. I think if we're going to move forward, we certainly need to have an accurate projection of what our financial situation is going to be before we can even consider moving forward. So thank you for getting on top of this, Tanner. Any questions from the board? Then do I hear a motion to approve this financial report? Not that we need, but that we agree that it looks good?
Okay, Bourne moves to approve, or no, to accept.
To accept, thank you.
Accept, yeah.
Okay.
Am I the only one awake this morning?
Probably.
I'll second.
Did no one seconds that? All those in favor?
I was awake too.
Okay, so we've approved the financial report. That looks good. Thank you very much. The TIF agreements. We have a letter from Mark Rabot for an extension on his contract, and he's had a few issues and is getting them lined out, but we do need to extend his contract to stay within the parameters of our agreement. Because I'm so hoarse and can't talk, Tanner, could I ask you to read that letter? Unless we do not need to, that would be as per the board, but I would like to have it in the records.
I'd like to hear it.
Thank you, Ellen.
Letter from Mark Rabot, member, Purple Mountain Hospitality 2 LLC. This was dated November 5th, 2018. I received it yesterday via email at 10:30 or so in the morning. Woodland Park Downtown Development Authority. Attention, Mr. Tanner Coy, Treasurer. Subject TIF agreement with Purple Mountain Hospitality 2 LLC. Dear Mr. Coy, construction on the new Microtel Inn and Suites continues, although a little slower than planned. We've experienced many construction delays, difficulties with Pikes Peak Regional Building Department, engineering, soil erosion issues, and fire issues, to name a few. Primary concerns, both in the last year and into the future, have been finding the various trades to work on in the Woodland Park area. Construction is booming in Colorado, and it's very difficult to find the needed subs. Currently, we anticipate an opening around March or April 2019, pending no further serious delays. With that said, consider this letter as a request to extend our contract/TIF agreement with the Downtown Development Authority an additional 12 months, our worst case scenario. The DDA was scheduled to sunset in 14 years, and the TIF agreement was written to last 14 years, with reimbursements to be 75% for the first 5 years, 50% for 6 years, and 25% for 3 years. My request would be to change reimbursements to reflect a 13-year schedule. 75% for the first 5 years, 50% for 7 years, and 25% for 1 year. This would allow us time to complete the building, allow time for a revised assessment on the improved property, and work the negotiated TIF agreement into the time frame needed before the DDA sunsets. Reimbursements to start after property taxes reflect the improvements made to the subject property. I'm currently traveling and don't always have cell or internet service. Please feel free to call 586-822-6006 with any questions or concerns. Thanks, Tanner, to you and the entire DDA board for your service to our community. It's very much appreciated. Thank you for your consideration to amend our current TIF agreement. Sincerely, Mark Rabot, member, Purple Mountain Hospitality 2 LLC.
Thank you for doing that. Comment from the board.
What does that mean to us in financial outlay? Does it turn out to be the same? You know, when you're changing the number of years a little bit here and there?
No.
No. Okay.
I've prepared a comparison for the board's review of several different scenarios to answer exactly that question. The original financial scenario, if you will, when we agreed several years ago to certain terms for his agreement and wrote a letter to that effect to Mark. That was a 75% for 5 years, 50% for 5 years, 25% for 5 years, that was agreed to some years ago, when there was enough time left in the DDA's life to agree to a 15-year reimbursement term. He did not move forward with this project until a couple of years later, after the letter and agreement that we had reached expired. So at that point, the board deliberated and agreed to go ahead and honor those terms anyway. However, at that point in time, there was no longer sufficient time left for a 15-year reimbursement term, so we negotiated a 14-year term. At both times, the projected value of the property was much higher than what the assessor is giving me in terms of numbers to use now. So as this agreement has evolved, the numbers have been changing, and I have those scenarios here. That said, if there is to be any real deliberation around changing the reimbursement terms, that's something that can be done in executive session if the board feels that's appropriate, as it would involve negotiating with the other party. So we wouldn't necessarily have all those detailed discussions on the record where the other party has access to them. So I can disseminate this now, and we can have that discussion or hold it for executive session.
Yes, Al?
Mary Jo, here the other day, Tanner and I spent quite a bit of time working numbers. Tried to make a variety of assumptions, over the next 13 years or 14 years. And again, it's still assumptions because we have nothing final on, we'll say, construction costs and assessment values and tax rates and all that kind of stuff. But we try to use the assumptions consistent on the various formats that we were looking at. The net end result of those number crunchings was that we wanted to come up with about the same payout as near as we could project it over the next 13 years. So that we're still supporting the project in the manner that we originally decided, and not interfere particularly with the DDA's cash flow. But it is a series of assumptions, as best we could come up with. And we did this because of the Finance Committee, of which Tanner and I are on. Yeah. And there's only 2 people there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any comment? Tanner?
Well, there is one more thing that I would say about this agreement that isn't really brought up clearly anyway in Mark's letter, and that is that in the agreement with Purple Mountain 2, or Purple Mountain Hospitality, which I did bring a copy of somewhere. Anyway, there is a deadline in the contract for completion of construction, and that is November 30th of this year. Mark is requesting a change to the TIF reimbursement schedule, but that is not necessarily, that's not a change to the completion of construction deadline. That deadline, being November 30th, is one he can't meet. And if that's not changed, then he'll be in default starting December 1st of this year. So,
And he is aware of that.
He knows.
And is he going to approach us to...
I think his intent is to accomplish that with this letter. So it just wasn't spelled out very clearly that really there are 2 separate issues here. One is the deadline in the agreement, and the other is the reimbursement schedule.
So that needs to be defined in this letter if we approve it.
Well, yeah, whatever the board decides to do with regard to the contract, we just need to be clear about what we're going to do.
And we can grant that as a motion from this board.
Okay. Moving on then, Is there any comment from the board about doing that? If not, could I get a motion to do that? Can we take care of this now? Or do we need to have Mr. Rabot reply to that before we do it with a motion? Or do we wait till it's closer for the contract?
Well,
I would like to make a motion to extend his contract date till March, is that what you spelled out? Till April. Construction industry, but it's not surprising
he says, we anticipate an opening around March or April 2019, pending no further serious delays. With that said, consider this letter as a request to extend our contract / TIF agreement with the Downtown Development Authority an additional 12 months. Worst case scenario. So I interpret
motion?
that to be November 30, 2019 as a completion of construction deadline.
Would it be appropriate just to approve that to that amount, anticipating there probably could be more setbacks ahead?
If we would extend it to, say, May 31st, that would take care of... I'm sorry?
He's asking for 12 months.
Oh.
I think that's what we should give him, because there's
Oh,
no way
okay.
to know,
Yeah.
he has no control over the contractors
No,
to do that.
I agree, absolutely. And then would we use the issuance of a CO, a certificate of occupancy, then, as the end point?
I thought I had a copy. That page of the contract. Evidently, I did not bring it. Oh, wait, here it is. Okay. It's, per the agreement, it's not issuance of a certificate of occupancy, it's application for a certificate of occupancy filed with the city or other entity having jurisdiction.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Okay.
if we're going to,
We just give him the 12 months, and we don't have to keep the
well, but I think, I was saying, would Mark be required to have a CO by that date, or simply have applied for one?
The contract calls for applying for one, so that's what we stick to. You know,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
My guess is he'll have a CO at some point, and it'll probably be for 12 months from now, so...
Yeah.
I don't see any problem with granting an extension, whether it's to May or to some other date. The way I see it, Mark is motivated to complete the building as soon as possible. He wants to open for business. He does not want to miss the summer season next year. I doubt he's dragging his feet, and at some point, the assessor will have the property valued, the TIF revenues will flow, and the math is the math. Under the agreement, we don't pay anything in reimbursement till he's paying TIF revenues, so the schedule will be what it will be at this point. That's how I see it.
Sure. So then, would you like to amend that to 12 months?
I would.
Okay. Could you please state, or do you have a motion then?
What I have is to extend the construction deadline to November 30th, 2018. Is that accurate?
Well, maybe I should clarify it. Completion.
To the request of occupancy? Till November 19th. And
November
request for-
30, 2019.
And request? Okay.
Did you say construction deadline?
Right.
Construction
Right.
started, which is well,
It's the date of completion of construction. That's being extended.
Okay, so for clarification,
The reason why I picked the issuance of the CO, Mary Jo, on that, in contrast to the request for a final inspection, so you get the final inspection in process, then there may be a punch list after that before the actual granting, and the granting of the CO is the completion of. And that was the reason for that. But I recognize the contract has some different kinds of wording in there, and that's where I'm confused as to how we can proceed.
It reads, "And shall complete construction of all the improvements, including the eligible improvements on the property on or before November 30, 2018, as evidenced by an application for a certificate of occupancy filed with the city or other entity having jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Each such deadline shall be subject to extensions of time for events of force majeure or with the consent of the authority, which consent will not be unreasonably withheld."
so if we go with your original, we can readdress that should there be more problems down the road. Am I correct in hearing that? So, if you would read Jerry's motion.
Extend the date of completion of construction to November 30th, 2019. Is that correct?
How about we put terms of the agreement extend for 12 months, and then that encompasses the original format, whether it's a CO or a completion date or whatever. Let's just extend the agreement.
With the date specified, extend the terms of the agreement
Yes.
to November 30th, 2019?
Okay, Murph?
Was any of this to address with Mr. Benedetti?
I did not.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'm sorry, I was just reading that.
Did Mr. Benedetti say it was okay?
Yes. And he had comments on the reimbursement
Does there
schedule.
need to be any rewording or an addendum done to the contract that we have approved by him? I mean, we can set here, we can suspend the initial completion date of 1 December at this point. But the actual wording and everything, I would vote to suspend, okay, or extend the contract, but that we actually would need to do an addendum, okay, as opposed to just throwing it out there and saying,
Right.
1 year, that Mr. Revo would sign, and as opposed to us just giving carte blanche.
Yeah,
Ooh.
the conditions typically may get changed
Absolutely.
over the years, so you're correct.
Well, the TIF agreement, the TIF part has not changed and is not changing with what your motion is. If I understand it correctly, I got a little confused with the last round of language and talking about the terms of the agreement. That's very broad. That's everything written in the contract. The only thing, it's my understanding, the only thing we're really discussing at the moment is the deadline for completion of construction.
Yes.
That's, and
Yes.
if you want, because I didn't have any detailed conversation with Paul Benedetti about an amendment. It was simply, here's his request. Do you have any comments? And what do you think about the TIF schedule, 14 years versus 13 years, et cetera? And so he didn't have any issue. Benedetti is the one who drafted this contract.
Is that new, or that's the original contract?
It's just 2 pages out of the original contract. I just printed the section that is relevant to...
I think we need to maintain our due diligence and come up with an amendment to the contract in writing and sign it, and until that such time, I'd make a motion that we...
Well, we have a motion on the
well,
table.
okay, you already have a motion on the floor.
It's right. Yeah.
So Jerry would have to amend that motion if we decide to add to it.
May I suggest, instead of the motion at this point, because we don't have an amendment for approval of the board, we don't have anything official that you can approve, but we can take a position. Maybe we just reach a consensus that we're going to grant an extension via an amendment. We won't be holding Mark in default following November 30th, and that one of us is directed to contact Mark to tell him that, and Paul Benedetti to have an amendment drafted, which will come back to the board for approval. How's that?
Okay, Jerry, so you have a motion on the floor. Would you like to withdraw that motion? And we go back to discussion.
Whatever works to make this, yes.
Okay.
And we're in consensus that we'll be granting a
Do I-
12-month extension to the completion of construction deadline in Section 4.1 of the redevelopment and reimbursement agreement between the Downtown Development Authority and Purple Mountain Hospitality too. And that I will talk to Mark about that extension, and Paul Benedetti requests that Paul draft an amendment to that effect.
Does that serve the board well? To do that with a consensus? We have a unanimous consensus on that, and after following through with Paul and Mark, then we'll have a vote on proper procedure. Okay?
Mary Jo, there might even be a 10-day grace period to cure a default after and that'll get us to the next meeting.
Okay.
So, we're tiptoeing the tightrope.
Okay, well, as long as we're square on line. Okay, consensus, and we're moving on.
Will the TIF reimbursement portion, his request for 13 years versus 14 years, will we discuss that in executive session? Or is that to be discussed here? That's a separate issue from the
It is.
completion of construction.
It is.
So, and it does have, what he's asking for has real financial implications that the board should be aware of when deciding.
It sounds like that there might be some contractual discussion, or at least sensitive contractual information come out, and I don't know if maybe that should be an executive session in protection of Mr. Rabot. Yeah, we were trying not to have any more executive sessions than necessary, but in respect to his privacy, maybe that would be good at this time. How does the board feel? Yes. Okay. Then we will include that in our executive session.
Okay.
Okay. Moving along. Dog park, I don't see anyone here. I don't know if you all were listening to council meeting. It came up. We did get notification that there would be someone here to speak to dog park. I don't believe there is. I would like to move past this till we have an official representation here on that subject. Do we have a problem with that? Okay, Sally?
Because I have batteries.
That would help.
The money died.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to let you know, as of yesterday, Bianca Bryant now is going to come forward to the City Council to request the dog park location at Meadowood Park. So I believe it was, City Council who just at the hearing suggested that she look at other locations, and Woodland Station was suggested, and Kelly Case had said that she would be sure and have it on the agenda. But the decision, or the path forward now, is to present a Meadowood Park location.
Oh, good. Good. Well, thank you for that update, Sally. Then we will just move forward past that. General discussion. Murph, have you got some general discussion?
I am just on the Main Street stuff. As a rep over there, we're moving forward with more advertising for the community, and Main Street's coming up with $300 for the next advertising round. We're going to concentrate on getting business owners together to support and push and advertise Main Street, as well as everything else, trying to get more business up here. On December 4th, there's a community workshop for Main Street, and it will go from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the Cultural Center, and as far as I know, it's at the Cultural Center. And there's a 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. walk around with the DOLA folks, or the folks that are actually helping us with this survey. And other than that, and I'm going to suggest to the Main Street that we get on board with the Gold Hill Halloween Fest and extend that into all the way down into the Main Street area next year. That Main Street becomes part of that.
And to comment on that, God bless them up there. They have just been hammered year after year. There are so many kids anymore, and I would think that would be a real extension of.
Okay, and yeah, this year's one other point: the lighter side of Christmas. Main Street is the beneficiary of it. Each year the organization chooses another beneficiary, but this year it's the Main Street, and that's coming up on December 1st, so we won't be having another meeting before then, but it's up to big time in town, so.
Yes, it is. Suzanne?
We have the collections of, I think that Lions probably is this year's beneficiary, and that Main Street is 2019.
Okay, all right, okay, my mistake. That's probably correct.
Stephanie?
Actually, the American Legion this year, Lions last year. Thank you. Main Street is next year.
Okay.
All right, between all of us, we might be a good family to sort out. Find out who the beneficiaries are. At any rate, it's it's a great cause, so
Okay.
that's all I have.
Thank you, Murph.
Yes, Mary Jo. This is still going to be associated with the dog park, but not about the location or anything. I did speak at council last Thursday night, and I want to bring this first paragraph of what I was talking about up again tonight or today. And this revolves around Bianca. And basically I'm going to read what I had said then, and that was that I wish to compliment Bianca for her vision, definition of a project, and the promotion thereof. She is an amazing young lady. To obtain a Girl Scout Gold Award is a monumental significance. To see a young person demonstrating such high-level vision, ingenuity, and work ethic is awesome and is to be celebrated. Not many young
Hear,
people
hear.
go to this extent.
I
I
would
wish to
agree.
compliment her and her family.
Thank you, Al. That's a nice statement, and that is certainly true. it was good that you recognized that. That was a good thing. Is that all?
That's all.
Okay.
Yep.
Ellen?
I'd like to mention Small Business Saturday, Shop Small, the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and Main Street Promotions Committee is spearheading that, and Lynn Jones will have a welcome station in front of her store in Woodland Square. So everyone shop small on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Come to Woodland Park.
That's a good thing,
Stay
and
here.
I'm happy we're getting that out there and try to get all the businesses on board. Okay. I would like to say we had a good weekend. Karis had a dynamic program this weekend and brought in Mike Huckabee, and they had the theater play, which I heard nothing but spectacular reviews from customers from there that came in our store, and that was a delight to see. And for that day, it definitely did bring a lot of business to Woodland Park for me. I would hope Woodland Park as a whole as well. So it was a good day. Lynn?
I just wanted to add that the Chamber is also participating on the Shop Small Saturday. So we're very excited about that.
Good.
Excuse me. The Chamber will also be open from 9 to 12. I'm manning the Chamber Visitor
Oh,
Center
good.
from 9 to 12 on Saturday.
So you're hoping for company?
I am hoping for visitors, yes.
Good. Jan?
Today's November 6th, vote.
Okay. Jerry?
Hold off for a little while on my comment.
Okay. Tanner?
Nothing. Happy, blessed Thanksgiving to everybody.
Thank you.
And, I do want to say, sitting at my office is right across the street from Dan Taylor's property, and I get to look out the window and see it numerous times a day, and it is moving along rapidly. The property looks great for a construction site. Looks great, and just want to compliment Mr. Taylor on the work that he's doing and moving things forward.
I would second that, and it's good to see new things happening in Woodland Park. We need that. We need some uplift and new coming and new day. Move forward. Going to be a good year. Murph?
I just have one alibi. Thoughts about the dog park. One of the things that I was thinking of, we've got such a beautiful landscape and everything over here at this park. The season is coming, and maybe a lot of people don't know it, but an alternative dog park where most people can take their dogs. I love dogs, absolutely, but an alternative dog park, because this seems to have become a central point for people to bring their dogs. Okay, and if nobody knows it, female dogs in heat can actually kill the grass when they urinate on it. Okay, so a landscape, I know, it's just one of those things, but I think about how much it costs to maintain the grass and everything, that if we had, an alternative place that both of the dogs would go to, it might actually save us some money in the long run on our beautiful Central Park here in Woodland Park. So that was just one of the things I was thinking about.
Good point,
Support
Murph.
that.
Good point. Maybe the powers that be will take that into consideration and share with the community of dog people. The audience, do I hear anybody who'd like to speak over on this side of the room? Dan, anybody? Yes, Suzanne?
Sally and I, well, mostly Sally.
Okay, Sally. Okay.
Thank you, Suzanne. On behalf of the city manager and the city council, it came to our attention that the 2009 DDA and city TIF agreement had a date in it for completion of construction of December 1st, 2015. We would like to request that you consider extending that date, so similar to Mr. Rabot, but we would like for you to consider the extension to December 1st, 2021 for the completion of the TIF agreement. And Mr. Tangeman did talk with Tanner about this, so I'm sorry to sort of spring this on you, but it really is just a housekeeping event or consensus, and our city attorney is preparing a simple amendment for that extension to December 1st, 2021. Council will have it on their agenda next week for their approval. We would like to have that, have you do a motion to authorize the chairperson to sign the amendment, simple amendment for the extension to that TIF agreement.
Thank you, Sally. We'd had some conversations about that and how to move forward with that. And thank you for bringing that to us today. Is this something that we need to talk about as a board, or can we do this today?
Without the amendment, much like Mark Rabot's, there's nothing for the board to formally approve, but general consensus that we look forward to that extension and that amendment coming forward. Would that suffice? I did not speak with Darren. He did not talk to me or Mary Jo. He sent an email.
No.
It was a short email that said he would be here today to discuss this. That was essentially it.
Yeah. And Tanner and I had these discussions between us because we were aware of that. And we, obviously, you are here representing Darren.
Yeah, he apologizes. He has a conflicting meeting with the chamber board we weren't aware of, so he would have been here, and I didn't understand it was a email.
So Mary Jo, what we are looking
for is the board to give you consensus to sign this amendment. That's all we need.
And we could do that at this time? Do I get a consensus?
Yes.
Should it go to Paul Benedetti for review before he sign it?
We can certainly, Aaron Smith can certainly share it. It's going to be a very simple amendment, just changing the date in the completion of construction. And I would be happy to do a workshop or a presentation with you in terms of what this 2009 TIF agreement was involved in, but it essentially was the transfer of Woodland Station land to the DDA. So it was the city's agreement to transfer the land for the DDA to complete development of the DDA land.
This will be a topic for executive session as well, because there are other considerations in that 2009 agreement that are coming up. So I'd say...
Well, and that's what is in this executive session here, isn't it? So this was on our executive session radar for today.
But with full transparency, our request is to simply extend the deadline for completion of construction.
Okay. Then, after our executive session, then we will move forward and get with you. I would like to ask the board, though, with your offer to cover that, we have new members of the board. Do you feel like you need to hear Sally explain that to you so that you understand this TIF agreement that we have with the city? that would be up to, Lynn doesn't know. Jerry, do you need to hear that too?
I got the gist of it.
Well, this would be as per your choice. If you'd like to hear it from the horse's mouth, we'll have Sally. Oh, no. No. Nothing directed at the horse.
Mary Jo likes horses.
Yes.
I'd like
So-
to hear the presentation.
Okay.
And I would,
You would
like
too.
Jerry, got the gist, but
Yeah.
like to
All right.
hear it all.
Sally, we'll set up a time where we can meet and have just a review.
So Sally, all that we're going to be doing is modifying the completion date, but not the terms within that agreement. And those are still subject to review and revision if necessary. Okay. As long as it's a single topic thing, yeah.
Okay? Consensus is go ahead, we'll set up a meeting, we will discuss this in executive session and get back with you as per result of that. Is that good?
I would appreciate after your executive session if I could be here and you can take action.
Okay, we'll come and get you. Okay?
Well, should we just take action on the date extension now?
Take it now.
Fine if we don't need to. Okay, on the date, fine?
General consensus that upon the chair's review of the amendment with the date extension, she is authorized by the board to sign it.
Okay.
All right? Consensus is go ahead.
Yes.
And thank you very much to the city for addressing it proactively and bringing
Yes.
it to us.
Yes.
It's very nice
This
to have
is
this
working
cooperation.
together.
Much appreciated.
Look at how well it's working already. Yes. Suzanne, is that all?
That's it, ma'am.
Okay. I see we have fire and ambulance here. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us. Would you like to say a few words? Speak, Tim.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a reminder to everybody, today is election day. If you've already voted, thank you. If you've already voted on 7A, you voted yes, you rock. Just remind everybody, please consider, if you haven't voted, please vote yes on 7A.
Thank you. Tyler? No? Okay.
This isn't working.
Yeah, okay. Vicki, anybody on this side of the room? Yes. Okay, wrong. Vicki?
idea when Natural Grocers is opening?
No, I have not heard. Have anyone here?
The last I heard from them was they hoped to be open for the holiday season. I don't know if they'll make it or not. The holiday season's about upon us.
Yeah. Sally, have you heard any kind of?
I don't have a definitive.
Okay. Probably they're falling in the same boat that Mark did. No?
Moving along very nicely.
Okay, good. Good. Okay, Vicki?
I've got two things. The first thing is, don't forget about the Mike's Crazy Hat Contest. Is the green light on? Yeah.
But it's not working.
Don't forget about Mike's Crazy Hat Contest during the parade. Top 10 or so contestants do get a really nice prize, each one of them. The other thing is I would like to put a request that when you first start the meeting, I would like to see you guys start saying the Pledge of Allegiance like every other volunteer group.
Do we need to vote on that or bring it up or discuss it?
Well, thank you, Vicki. Thank you for...
See why we couldn't do that? That's just my...
I like the idea.
I have no problem. Jerry?
She said.
He knows better.
Good as your toast, Jerry.
Tanner, do you have a problem with that? Do you have a comment on it?
No,
Okay.
I will never have a problem with the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right. Murph, good for you?
I'm good. Absolutely.
Al?
No, absolutely, no problem with that. But
Okay.
Kind of reflecting on history, I guess that's because when I first moved to Woodland, I had hair. Now I don't, and still involved. We used to also have a prayer before the Board of Trustees had their meeting, along with the Pledge of Allegiance. But our society has changed to the point where doing a prayer was not appropriate. So it's kind of interesting how we've changed. So to continue with the pledge, that's great, yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
Mayor
Thank you,
Kenny used
Vicki.
to always get clergy from within the town, to be part of the opening ceremony of each Board of Trustees meeting.
Good old days.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vicki. We will start doing that.
I've got a quick question. A couple of weeks ago, I read an article in the Wall Street Journal about opportunity zones. Tax Act a year ago created opportunity zones. I found a few in Colorado. Some full counties, Chaffetz County, Buena Vista, Glenwood Springs, Avon are all opportunity zones, which allow investors or developers to defer capital gains taxes for 10 years, which is a huge incentive. So I just wondered what kind of discussion, what's your position on opportunity zones?
Open for discussion. So I think we need to understand opportunity zones. We're ready to move forward. So
Mary Jo, question. Arden, to defer capital gains, that would be a state taxing issue and a federal taxing issue. How do communities declare that?
Well, apparently, I don't know the answer to that. Other communities have gotten on board here.
Does the
I'm not sure.
IRS,
I don't go to those CML meetings.
IRS doesn't like us fiddling with their tax code.
No, the IRS has a page about these opportunity zones.
Okay.
We have a city,
would,
we have a city charter, 917, that the city is not allowed to offer incentives for development. So would the city charter have to be changed?
well, I don't know enough about it to even make a comment on it, but I would like you to share that contact information so we can research it and let's see what it's about, because we're not against it. We don't understand it. We need to look into it. So if you would share that with me, Arden.
So I'm asking.
Sure, we're not against it. So if you would share that information with me, we'll look into it, try to educate ourselves on it, and see where we stand. Okay. I think we could do that together.
Maybe even reaching out to those other communities.
Yeah, we'll research it. Thank you for that information. Anyone else, Stephanie?
Yeah.
No? Neil? Well, then I would thank you all for coming. We will go into executive session now. We'll take a 5-minute break. Tanner, would you like to comment?
There's language for adjourning to executive session that you'll need to read. For the record, we'll need a motion to adjourn to executive session for
I
that purpose.
almost forgot that. We've been since we've had an executive session. Let me get my...
So in the meantime,
Thank you for the reminder.
I would move that we adjourn to executive session for the purpose of determining positions relative to matters involving development projects within the City of Woodland Park Downtown Development Authority District, specifically regarding the purchase, acquisition, lease transfer, sale of real estate, personal or other property under interest under CRS 24-6-4024A, and/or determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators under CRS 24-6-4024.
Thank you, Tanner.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we'll take a 5-minute break and go into executive session. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Bob, thank you for calling me back. Well, the little darlings finally came home.
I was going to get you my water, but I don't
We,
Can I get you a cup of water?
okay. Gotcha.